Welcome everybody to AP Economics, lesson number 1, the all-American American history teacher, the gold standard of economics, Professor G here, and today we are going to talk about our introductory lessons, the fundamental problems and questions that all societies must contend with when studying economics. And economics is the study of scarcity. That means all societies have to deal with the problem of how do they allocate limited resources versus unlimited wants. And when we talk about resources, we are talking about 3 different types of resources. We are talking about natural, renewable, and unrenewable resources. We are talking about human, the labor force, and we're also talking about capital resources. And this is our first tricky word of the course, because capital we think of as money, but in AP Economics, when we refer to capital, we're really referring to, in this sense, the machines, the equipment, and the technology for the labor force, for us. And so just be careful of that vocabulary word. And when we study economics, there are 2 general fields. This is macroeconomics, which means we are going to focus on the large-scale or national level issues like unemployment, GDP, inflation, and how to solve those issues, recession, depression, and versus micro, which is the more smaller units, the businesses and the industries that are comprised together into the macro. And there's 2 ways to go about it. We have the normative economics, which is basically the opinions that people have about how should we solve these problems, versus the positive economics, which is more your facts, stats, and most importantly, your graphs. And the 2 kind of go together. From the positive, you create the normative, and you can also go in reverse from the normative, here's my opinion, and here's the facts I want to use for it. And so this is our initial introductory definitions. Now we're going to focus on, well, how does society answer how to allocate these resources? Because we have this fundamental question of the study of economics, we have societies have to answer the question of scarce resources versus unlimited wants. So society must now answer all societies throughout history have to answer these 3 fundamental questions from that original question of scarcity. Number 1, what goods and services will that society produce? Number 2, how will that society produce those goods and services? And 3, who in that society will receive those goods and services? And answering these questions create economic systems, which we're going to take a look at now. So the 3 fundamental questions lead us to, interestingly, Karl Marx believed that answering these questions created economic systems, and it was the creation and struggle of these economic systems which is how to actually view history. Interesting way to look at it. Not saying this channel promotes Marxism, but we are taking a look at that evolution of economic systems. Like I said, it's an interesting way to look at both regular history and economic history. And Karl Marx believed that history was a constant struggle of haves versus the have-nots, and he believed that communism was the evolution of this struggle. First you had the traditional or the barter economy, and answered our 3 questions with what have people historically and traditionally done, and the double coincidence of a barter economy for who gets the goods and services. And what I mean by the double coincidence is that if you're trading a chicken for a pig, that you happen to need that pig and that person happens to need that chicken. Not a very good economy, because it has to have a double coincidence to move it forward. Capitalism, the free market and the free interaction between consumers and businesses and workers and businesses, answer those questions along with the entrepreneur who puts all of those resources together in the interest of profit. That greed, for lack of a better word, is good, and that this greed, this profit motive, move society forward, which we have seen through the different industrial revolutions, and now even being on our fourth industrial revolution in the technology and internet and cybersecurity age and 5G revolution. Karl Marx believed, though, that in capitalism you had the bourgeoisie, the middle class, the managers, versus the workers. And this would eventually give way to communism, in which there is anarchy, there is no government, that the people answer the three fundamental questions. The people control the proletariat, controls the means of production, the community answers the questions as a community, commune, and that for who receives the goods and services, well, each according to need. However, we actually historically don't get to see Marx's view of communism, because Vladimir Lenin in the Russian Revolution doesn't really create a communist economy. He creates what we see with Soviet Union, with communist China, what are called command economies, where they're called communist, but that's really more about the government, versus the actual economy, who answers those three fundamental questions. It is actually called a command economy. And a command economy is that the state controls all of the resources and the state controls all of the decision making. Our course is going to focus, though, on, but these guys do appear on the AP test, but our course is going to focus on capitalism, and in our next lesson we are going to take a look at the pillars of capitalism, what makes capitalism capitalism, and we're going to take a look at the free market, the graph of the free market, or the graphs of the free market, of the circular flow model, and the roles of entrepreneurs. But for now, this is the evolution of economic systems. This is our first AP Economics lesson, doing our basic introductory words, the fundamental questions because of the issue of scarcity, and just a brief look at the evolution, at how societies create economics, the economic systems, and the four basic systems that have appeared throughout history that societies have created. Thanks for watching. Remember, money never sleeps.